I want to talk about the work that you do with teachers now. So you are the manager of the teachers program at CERN. So CERN has got a program that involves teachers from all around the world. There's member states and perhaps non-member states. We'll get into it. Why do teachers need to be involved in all this? This is like postgraduate stuff in particle physics, PhDs. Now, a teacher goes to a class to teach, year 5, 6, 7, like a basic Newtonian physics. Why do they need to be involved with all this?
That's a very nice question. Thank you. Well, let me maybe first just start that or state CERN has several main missions. And of course, one of the main missions is fundamental research, but one of the other main missions is education. There is no way in the world we can run a lab like this without training the scientists of tomorrow. So we really put a lot of effort in. I was very fortunate to do my PhD at CERN. So I was one of the lucky ones to be educated at CERN. And you need that. You need people to then learn what's going on at CERN to eventually take over. So that's one of the main components. But of course, for that, we need university students who are already interested in physics, engineering, IT. But unfortunately, the vast majority of people are not necessarily automatically drawn towards science. Let's put it this way, and that's perfectly fine. Not everyone has to be or should be a scientist. That would be a strange world to live in. But we do need informed people. We need. Well, then again, maybe. So we do need, informed people, and we need those who are interested to have a chance to make it into science, and those who then want to go into politics or arts, they should at least have an understanding of scientific understanding. I'm hoping. So of course, we have to start earlier. So there is a big motivation for us to start not just at university level. We want to go further. Now, we would love to talk to high school students or even primary school kids directly from the beginning, but there are just way too many of them. There are a lot of teachers out there, but the number is slightly smaller. So CERN now for more than 20 years has invested a lot of effort and money into educating and training high school teachers. So we're really talking about, we are aiming at high school teachers who teach, let's say, students of the age between 15 and 18. Sometimes high school is also defined in some countries from, let's say, age 12 to 18. So that's where we are, middle to high school. And as you said, of course, there is a lot of in the curriculum, which is Newtonian physics and maybe what we sometimes call classical physics. In some countries in the world, you have modern physics in the curriculum, but modern is then usually Einstein, 1905, so more than 100 years ago. It's not necessarily that modern. Still better than not anything, so I'm not complaining about that. But we do see it. There is a lot of need to educate teachers in what's going on at the moment. I'm not saying that they don't know what's going on in particle physics. Most of them studied it at university, but there is so much advancement and so much new stuff to know. So that our motivation is we want to bring teachers to CERN directly. Have our scientists, experts in the field, tell them what's going on right now. I'm literally meaning that there are people who work on a Nobel Prize winning machine, then take 2 hours of the time, come to my teachers, give a talk, and then go back to hopefully get a Nobel Prize at some point. So that's the level of excitement that we have. And of course, why do we bring people to CERN, or why do teachers want to travel to Geneva is we then can show them our beautiful lab. We want to show them where science is taking place at the moment, which is a nice experience for them. But of course, it's a first-hand experience that they can then transfer to their students. So that's the main motivation behind our teacher programs, and one of the many reasons why I consider myself very lucky to have this job, to be honest.
So I detected there's a few reasons. There's a few things that happen in the teachers program. Obviously, you've got the cutting-edge knowledge that is transmitted, provided to the teachers that come over a relatively long way for a lot of them to Geneva. The experience of being there where these discoveries are being made is also significant, right? Because
absolutely.
I guess like you look like a very excited person being there and doing what you're doing. I guess that's what teachers will see when they come to you or to your colleagues and spend a bit of time with you. They see all this excitement about all the discovery that is taking place in your normal day in the office. You know,
exactly. Yeah.
a few more trillion particle collisions later. We are sitting there. So we discovered something today, and that comes across as well. And then knowing, what the differences are between, or actually I should say, the state of physics and the state of science between what they studied in university perhaps 20 years ago, perhaps even 5 years ago, versus now. Even that is mind-boggling in terms of like how much can happen with an instrument like that, or with the efforts of scientists around the world. So all that put together make that experience, I guess, a lifetime experience for a lot of teachers. So what happens after that? And I'm just fast forwarding a little bit now, but I'd like to come back to what happens while they're still there. But let's fast forward and see what the end result is. So those teachers eventually go back to their classrooms around the world again. So what normally happens once they get back?
I mean, speaking from experience, first, we like to call our teachers, once they completed the teacher program, alumni of our programs, and as such, ambassadors of CERN, of science. Which, I mean, they are science teachers. They are already ambassadors, but now they really have this concrete case for CERN, and they go to their classroom, and the feedback is just fantastic. The students get in touch with CERN, or at least they are aware of CERN, not necessarily CERN. I mean, of course, as you say, the teachers come from all around the world, so it's not just CERN. Of course, we are a prime example, but it's more than that. It's fundamental research that sometimes it's not easy to grasp the idea why we should even invest both person power and money into advancing fundamental knowledge. But it's a case that teachers can make. So that's one of the main things. And we do see it. A lot of the teachers come back to CERN with their students. They are so fascinated, and they travel, because CERN really runs a fantastic visits program. So we have a fantastic visit service. We have probably more than 120,000 visitors every year traveling to Geneva, visiting CERN. And the majority, I think more than half by now, are teachers with their students. So this is really something where they are so fascinated. They bring their students along, show them what they've experienced. And they are multipliers. I mean, if they like something, they will share their enthusiasm with the students. And as I said earlier, we are not aiming for all of their students. That would be crazy. But if some of them appreciate the scientific value, I think we already did a fantastic job. Yeah. And so, of course, I mean, that's the cool thing. If you have thousands of teachers at hand, and if they are motivated, something is happening. And that's cool.
I think, as you said, not everybody has to become a scientist or an engineer or a mathematician, or there's plenty of other things that make life interesting, right? But I'm thinking that the experience and deep understanding of science and the scientific method, in my opinion, experience, it can really transform life. Like, it can make you a thinking person, like a useful person, a problem-solving person, dependable, and so many other things. It's that scientific way of thinking. So do you think that a CERN experience can also give the students and the teachers a little bit of that, like the way of thinking?
Per se, yes, but I would. I don't want to oversell such an experience. Of course, it's not like now I understand the scientific method. But clearly, if you're appreciative of what's happening in fundamental research, you need a deeper understanding of the scientific method, and that's clearly something. What I like the most when the high school students come to CERN is that they start to see, first of all, that science is not necessarily looking as it is portrayed in any stereotype that you have. Of course, we have people who look like Einstein. Of course, we have people with crazy hair. But this is a fraction. There are so many, especially young people in science. I mean, the majority at CERN, the majority of people working at CERN are between the age of 27 and 35. These are all the PhD students and postdocs. And that's what I care the most, that they see a diverse range of both women and men, of course, but also from around the world. This is... it's also one of the coolest things why I enjoy working at CERN so much. It's a highly diverse workplace. And as you said earlier, a standard day in the office could be that you go for lunch and you sit next to a Nobel Prize winner or a very important person who also advanced our field. It should not always be the Nobel Prize.
Yeah, no. There's a lot of people, for one Nobel Prize winner, it's like the tip of the iceberg, right? There's a lot of people around, support networks, like, Nobel Prize winners typically build on the shoulders of other giants or scientists in general. Team effort. It's another thing that I like about science. It's not a solo effort. Although, it's very hard to say that individual effort in any field of human life and achievement is true. It's pretty much never the case in anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, here at CERN, it's so evident. I mean, this beautiful machine behind me, it was built over decades by thousands of people, and I'm really saying thousands of people, and all of them work together, and none of them got any, that was my success. It's a shared experience, and now hundreds, if not thousands of people are operating this machine and running it. So it's really, I mean, as you say, science by now, there is no one scientist alone anymore. It's a group effort, absolutely.
Yeah, humanity, awesome. Come back. What I'm saying is, like, this is what is possible, right? This is what is possible if we can come up with a common goal and objective and then commit to it. I love it. Apollo program.
Yeah.
CERN. All right. Moving forwards, is there an ideal, actually I shouldn't say ideal, but who is the teachers program really for? Is it for any teacher, particular kinds of teacher, particular kinds of teacher from particular places?
Yeah.
Who's eligible?
That's another very good question. So CERN offers two different kinds of teacher programs. We have the national teacher programs, where we bring together a group of teachers from usually one country, or let's say one language group. So, for example, we also have a Spanish language teacher program where teachers who speak Spanish come together for roughly 1 week. So those national teacher programs, these are 1 week programs. And then in addition, we also have the international teacher programs, where we bring together a group of up to 48 teachers from all around the world, and they then stay at CERN for 2 weeks. So it's a more advanced, or at least a more advanced experience in that sense. And so if we distinguish between those two formats, the national teacher programs, they are predominantly for teachers from member states and associate member states. So at CERN we have about 30. There we are. Very good.
I'm sure that.
I think that makes way more sense. Exactly. So the national teacher programs, I think even if you click on it, because then on the right-hand side, you will see the menu of all our member states. So these are the member states of CERN. Then we have further down, we have the associate member states. And then we have some non-member states where we already started doing selected national teacher programs. But as you can see, this is not covering all the countries in the world, because at some point we first have to focus on CERN's member and associate member states. And that's why I'm so happy that we also have the international teacher programs, where we have 2 in summer, where, as I said, we bring together a diverse group of high school teachers from all around the world. Usually we have 48 teachers from about 35 different nationalities, and they spend 2 weeks in summer, either in July or in August at CERN. And I love all our programs, obviously, and all of them have their purpose. But of course, they are quite different in that sense that if you bring together a group from one country, you talk about your home curriculum, you talk about your experience, and that's absolutely relevant. However, if you bring together 48 teachers from all around the world, the program per se is already important, but it's also, if not probably even more important, the experience the teachers make while being at CERN, because these are really, I would say, lifelong friendships that are started at CERN. And these are not just friendships where people then meet each other in a couple of years down the road, but they also start working together. So we really have perfectly fine examples of teachers from different countries bringing together their students, either via the wonders of the World Wide Web or even by traveling to and visiting each other's places. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm very happy. We have one program every week, which gives you a little bit of an idea of our workload. So we really try to bring as many teachers to CERN as possible. We are talking about roughly 1,000 high school teachers per year. And when I say high school teachers, so we say in service, that's really important for us. So people who are really actively teaching, and we call it science teachers, because after all, in some countries, teachers do not teach only physics, they teach science. In some countries, they only teach physics. So we are very inclusive in that sense. As long as it's relevant to your daily practice, you are considered a strong candidate for us.
Right.
Yeah.
So you do need to have a bit of physics background, or at least general science.
Exactly. Yes.
So because you talk about in your program contains concepts that you need to, that are of course physics, and to be able to follow the program, you need to have some familiarity with those concepts.
And also we want to make sure that what the teachers gain from the program can then be used in their classroom. So if they are not necessarily teaching this kind of subjects in their classroom, they can still try to, sneak it in. But of course, it's way more meaningful if someone has to teach this in the classroom and wants to know what's going on. What can I tell my students at the moment?
Yeah. So there's some kind of selection process where the teacher will put an application in and...
I mean, especially for teachers from Australia, but for teachers from all around the world, for the international teacher programs, it is true we have a very strict application process. It's good for us. There's a lot of interest from around the world, but it means that we receive, unfortunately for the teachers, we receive way more applications than we have slots available. So the application process is quite strict in that sense that teachers have to put some effort in it, meaning you have to fill out some questions. There are some mean questions which I came up with. I can share them with you from last year's application process, because we don't use them anymore, of course. So last year we asked, looking at the standard model of particle physics, which one is your most favorite particle and why? Which is a very mean question, I admit that, but it gives us an idea of how relevant this program might be for a teacher. Because if you are able to answer that, or if you are able to make up your mind about it, no one needs to know what their favorite particle is. It gives us an idea of what we do. So it's true, our application process is quite strict. But the good news are for the international programs, if you submit a very good application, and if the selection committee then rates you or top ranks you and you are selected, you get a financial allowance that covers all your expenses while being at CERN. So CERN, I'm really most grateful. CERN puts a lot of money in that. So I have this very awesome position. I can really bring teachers together, and this includes teachers from countries where you could usually not even think about traveling to Geneva, because let's face it, it is really expensive, and I'm not happy with that. So I'm very, very grateful that CERN really provides me with this budget, so I can bring teachers from all around the world. We usually cover teachers from every continent, I'm really excited about our progress, I have to admit.
That comes out really clearly.